Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson, the poems contained in the Johnson edition. We turn now to an amazing little poem, 160, Just Lost When I Was Saved. Now, here we are back with Emily's epistemology, as we've used this term. Here in some ways, we are back to poem 76, which we've already worked with. And Emily's argument that epistemologically, what we can know is going to be limited in large measure to sense experience. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already been introduced to our introductory set of comments where we talked about our big five, of which the first is, of course, epistemology, what you can know. The second, obviously, ontology, and then psychology, sociology, and the question of theodicy. There will be a little bit of that theodicy question as well tried to answer here. I'm hopeful as well that you've already been reading the previous 159 poems, and we just finished with A Little Bread. Now, this poem was first published in 1891 with the title Called Back, where Emily now is going to imagine that she is nearly dead, and then, like Odysseus, she takes the journey, but then is able to return. Now, just to remind, when we were at poem 76, and we were reading this one, exaltation is the going of an inland soul to sea, past the houses, past the headlands, into deep eternity. We're reading this now just to make sure that we're preparing for 160. Bred as we among the mountains, can the sailor understand the divine intoxication of the first league out from land? Of course, we've already given full comments on that poem. Let's just enjoy now 160. Notice the repetitions in this poem, by the way. Just lost when I was saved. Just felt the world go by. Just girt me for the onset with eternity when breath blew back and on the other side I heard recede the disappointed tide. Therefore, as one returned, I feel odd secrets of the line to tell. Some sailor skirting foreign shores, some pale reporter from the awful doors before the sea. Next time to stay, next time the things to see by ear unheard, unscrutinized by eye. Next time to tarry while the ages steal, slow tramp the centuries, and the cycles yield. The fact that the last word of this poem is wheel is, I think, significant. And of course, there's going to be a Buddhist reading, a samsara reading of this poem, no doubt, although Emily herself would not have known any of that, we imagine. Notice we begin with the three justs. Just lost when I was saved. It's an interesting way for her to speculate on the possibility of almost dying. Just felt the world go by. Just girt me for the onset with eternity. And as we've said, poem 57, of course, the use of that word eternity. 51 poems. Emily will play this game of eternity. It is one of those central questions, some have called it the flood question of afterlife and the like. You remember that I think she was very influenced by John Keats and especially Ode on a Grecian Urn. Remember what he says about cold pastoral? We've given full lectures at learnstrong.net. You remember what he says about cold pastoral that does tease us out of thought, that notion of eternity, right? He said, she says, when, notice all your B sounds here, when breath blew back. In other words, I didn't die. And on the other side, I heard recede the disappointing tide. In other words, the tide was like, drats, we almost got her, but we didn't get her. Then the word therefore. It's almost as if she's creating an argument of a kind. Therefore, as one returned, and immediately we think of Odysseus here, I feel odd secrets. Now, her use of the word secrets is fascinating. When we get to poem 1385, she'll have played it this way. Secrets is a daily word, yet does not exist muffled. It remits, surmise, murmured, it has ceased. Dungeoned in the human breast, doubtless secrets lie, but that great inviolate goes nor comes away. Nothing with a tongue or ear, secrets stapled there will emerge but once and dumb to the sepulchre. I think there is an argument that the word secrets is foundational to our reading of the poetry of Emily Dickinson, because Emily is all about her curiosity, her secrets. You'll remember that she says in poem 696, we've mentioned this, acres of perhaps, this idea of secrets. Odd secrets. In other words, I learned a few things in my near-death experience of the line to tell, and again, this use of the word tell, to report, right? We've seen it a number of times, her fascination with the word tell. And now she's going to liken herself to a sailor and to a reporter. Some sailor skirting foreign shores, back to poem 57, of course. Some pale, it's interesting, her adjectives, pale reporter from the awful doors, and of course pale because almost dead. The awful doors takes us back to poem 158. Do you remember this? Somebody run to the great gate. Here we are at the awful doors. Before the seal, in other words, the seal of heaven, the gate of heaven. Now, next time, repeated 3 times. Next time to say, in other words, this will be my only near death experience. The next time is for real. Next time, the things to see, by ear unheard, unscrutinized by eye. And of course, Emily's audience would have known the 1 Corinthians 2:9 reference here right away. I have not seen nor ear heard, and all of that. Next time, to tarry while the ages. In other words, I've got to stay. The next time I play this game of near death, I'm going to go ahead and stay where I'm, supposed to be in heaven after life or whatever it is. While the ages steal, slow tramp the centuries, and the cycles wheel. Notice again our 3s here. By the way, the only use of the word tramp in all of Emily's poetry, and of course it makes us think about our study of Walt Whitman Talks with Walt. We called all those readings of every poem of Leaves of Grass. Do you remember that opening set of lines for Song of the Open Road? I tramp a perpetual journey, come listen all, and all of that. I'm sorry, in Song of Myself 46. It does make us think though of Song of the Open Road as well. Next time I'm going to tarry while the ages steal, slow tramp the centuries, and the cycles wheel. In other words, I'm going to be on the other side where I'm able to kind of witness the passage of time. Well, what are we going to say at 2A about this poem and its messages? Well, the only thing really that we can know about eternity is so unbelievably limited, our epistemological knowledge limited to, obviously, sense perception. At 2B, I love her repetition, and I love word choice throughout this, pale and tramp. At 3A, well, there are a number of near-death accounts. Life After Life, the Raymond Moody text does come to mind, and some of you will know that one or run it to ground. Of course, I mentioned Ode on an Urn, Keats's Ode on a Grecian Urn. Finally, at 3B, what are your thoughts about eternity? As Keats says, it doth tease us out of thought, right? Cold pastoral tease us out of thought, as doth eternity. How do you deal with the question of eternity? And is reading the poetry of Emily Dickinson helping that to happen? I hope so. Thank you.